Locked and loaded! Hello friends, this is Leo Siron and this is another The Gaming Generation game review. This week's game is Contra 3. This is another very hard game. And this game is so badass that, spoiler alert, if you finish it on normal or easy difficulty, the game will say, "Good try, now play the real thing," and it will throw you straight into the hard mode with the same amount of lives you had left and the same weapons too. And also, only in hard mode you can see the real last boss and the real game ending. It's just like the game saying you can't have the full experience if you're not very awesome. Yes, talk about rewarding player dedication, right? This game was released in 1992 on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and it has ports. One of them is on the Game Boy in 1994, and the other one is on Game Boy Advance in 2002. Well, Contra has got a very cliché story. Aliens invade, dress up like Rambo, and blast them. Well, it's not deep, but that's the kind of thing that was popular in the early 90s, since the beginning of the 80s, and it works. The game, it's not the kind of game that you play for the story really, it's for the mechanics. The really fast, unforgivable mechanics. The controls are easy, but the levels are not. Well, you jump with B, you shoot with Y. You can aim diagonally, but when you do so, your character will keep moving forwards. To stop that, make sure that the R button is pressed. Press the A button to detonate a bomb. You have limited ammo for that bomb, so use them only in very necessary situations. You can carry up to 2 weapons at the same time. To switch between them, you press the X button. And since we're talking about weapons, let's describe the weapons we have. Well, the standard weapon is a machine gun. So, when you die in this game, you will lose the weapon you were currently equipped with. And when you have no weapons, you actually are using the machine gun. It's got full screen range, rapid fire, but low power. It can range to the end of the screen, but it's not a wide shot. The spread, on the other hand, has the widest of shots because it really spreads out. It doesn't do very rapid shooting. It's like you have a limit of little spread balls to be on the screen before you can shoot again. And the balls by themselves don't deal very high damage, but since you will probably hit an enemy with more than one of them, it kind of compensates if you use the spacing right. One of my favorites from this game is the Crush. The Crush has got limited range, shots don't go all the way to the end of the screen, but their power is insane. If you manage to get close to the enemy without dying and deliver a few good shots to it, you will have your job done. Another one that's very good for situations where you have to evade a lot is the homing. Really, you've got lots of homing missiles with rapid shot. Their individual power is not very big, and sometimes if there is more than one target on the screen, they won't go all to the target you wanna hit. Usually it compensates. It's a very flexible weapon to use in different situations, and I like it a lot. The flamethrower is another big one. Well, it's got very limited range, doesn't go very far, but it's a little wide. Biggest strength of it is that it goes through barriers. If there is anything blocking the way between you and your target, the flamethrower will just ignore it and go to the other side of it. And it's got very decent power as well. There is the weapon that I like the least in this game. Why? Because it's got very low shooting rate. It can go all the way to the end of the screen, but it's very thin, and its strength, as I see it, does not compensate for any of those things. And it's the laser. When I see the laser power up on the floor, I avoid it, really. I don't want that. I prefer the machine gun, seriously. There's another power up that's the barrier. You touch one of them and you stay protected for a limited amount of time. You can jump into a tank only in the first level. It's a very fun way to play. You just shoot and go through enemies. It doesn't last very long, but it's fun too. Contra 3 has got 6 stages. The first one is on the streets, and there is not much to it. It's a very basic level. It's got the tank that I mentioned earlier. The sub-boss is that guy in the tank that shoots bombs in an arc, and the boss is that crazy turtle that shoots alien croissants and those flying insects from hell. Just shoot its heart and you'll be fine. The second level is one of the 2 top-down view levels. I don't like those, because those are the only levels that feel unfair. Of course, you can avoid getting lost on them because you can look at the map by pressing start and then select. But it feels too sketchy. It's as if the developers were trying to do something new and they kinda didn't succeed at it. They're not very interesting. If you press R and L and start shooting in those levels, your character will spin shooting with the 2 guns, and that's kind of fun. But since the shots spread too much, I don't think it's very useful, except on the boss of the 5th level, which is the second top-down one. But as for the first top-down level, it's a simple level, a little boring. The boss is a little boring. The third level presents you with a high danger of falling into cliffs. This and the first of the 2 sub-bosses are the hardest parts of it. The boss of this third stage is one of my favorites. First, you fight 2 robots that jump around and shoot in a very tight space. But since you can climb up the ceiling and the walls, maneuvering around them becomes very fun. Then, when you defeat them, a big robot appears and tries to kill you just with its head. It's kinda badass. 4th level is by far my favorite. Why? Because you ride a badass motorcycle at high speeds on a road, shooting giant ships and guys in jetpacks and other vehicles, and then you get out of the motorcycle to ride on missiles. That is badass. That is Contra, dude. The sub-boss is kinda annoying. It's a ninja that throws a boomerang shuriken at you and flies on a jetpack and plays Spider-Man. I don't like the sub-boss, but the fact that I am riding a missile while fighting at it on a helicopter compensates for everything. And the boss itself is kinda boring too, but again, since you're riding missiles, it's awesome. And the 5th level is the one that I hate the most by far. It's the other top-down level, but this time the structure of the level is much more like a labyrinth. Even if you can find your way around there, some paths are very narrow and you can fall down very easily, which is very frustrating. You feel like it was no fair because it looks like your character was still stepping on the stage, but he was not. Swirling sand things make me dizzy. I don't like playing on them. I don't like playing on the moving sands too. I don't like the sand mechanics. They look like they're made to annoy you, not to test your skills, just to make you pissed off. And they work perfectly to that purpose. Fighting the boss of this stage can make you very dizzy, because one of the best ways to fight it, if you have 2 powerful weapons, is to keep spinning around with L and R and shooting, and since the sand around the boss makes you spin too, you will translate and rotate very fast and you can vomit if you are not very careful. Finally, the last stage is the alien nest. It's kinda cool, to be honest. It's kinda cool, I like it. It's a fair stage, hard but fair. It embodies the spirit of this game. There are 2 sub-bosses. The first one looks very strange. It took me a while to get used to fighting it, but when I got its moves straight, I felt comfortable fighting it. Second one is an annoying dragon with a even more annoying tail. Be careful with its tail and you will be fine, as long as you're good in wall mechanics of this game. Then we've got the final boss of the normal difficulty, that is. It's got 2 forms. The first one's got 1 main head and 2 sub-heads, worm things on its sides. Just shoot everything before everything shoots you back or the side heads go towards you. Be fast, shoot fast, evade fast, and you'll be fine. Then everything will explode and its brain will be revealed. Now, the attack patterns of this brain are decided almost by random. Many things will spin around it and you shoot one of them. The one you shot will become its next attack. When it's attacking is when you can deal damage to it. Just make sure you hit one of the safe things, because there are some attacks of the brain that are much harder to survive than others. Well, since I'm not badass enough, I need to grow my beard a little more to finish the game on hard, so I can tell you how is the boss on hard. Well, the game modes are kinda simple. You've got the solo 1-player mode and 2 versions of the cooperative 2-player mode. The difference between one and the other 2-player modes is that on the top-down levels, on 2-player A, you will not share the same screen. You will have split screen there, and on the other one, you will share the same screen somehow. Well, even though this game was developed by Konami, outside Japan, this game does not accept Konami code. In the options menu, you can choose how many lives you start with. You can choose between 3, 5 or 7, along with the game difficulty and other things that are not important. But in Japan, I read that there is a code you can apply there to get up to 30 lives right off the bat. Well, overall this game feels like it's trying to show you that you can do better. It punishes you for your mistakes, but there are fair punishes. When you don't know how the enemies and obstacles work, it may feel unfair, because the game gives you no chance to understanding the enemies before they are already trying to kill you very hard. But once you already understand how everything works in this game, the difficulty looks very balanced. Intense, but balanced. When I die, I blame myself, not the game. I blame myself for not being a superhuman, but still myself. Except on the top-down stages. Those stages have very sketchy level design. As I mentioned earlier, on the 5th level, falling down those narrow paths feels really unfair. But besides that, and one or other tweaks separately throughout the game, it's a very tight gameplay and it feels good. It makes you feel well for giving it your time and your effort. It's badass, you get to ride missiles, you get to ride a motorcycle. Go for it, I'd play it if I were you. Do it, Contra 3. It's awesome. And remember, we are the gaming generation. We talk about everything from retro to new. We've got lots of gameplay content on our YouTube channel and many memes and Twitch streaming on our Facebook page. check it out. Also, check out my personal YouTube and Facebook page, Leo Saron Games, where I post awesome gameplay practically every day, mostly fighting games and sometimes very funny single player montages as well. Check it all out and have a blast, because I know you will. Also, good holidays to all of you out there in the internet around the world. Remember to play lots of games and check out lots of our content as well. Bye bye my friends, see you very soon.